Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make a very easy recipe. This is for golden crunch biscuits or cookies. So a lovely tender crunchy biscuit that almost melts in the mouth. They're the same biscuit base as I used for the gypsy creams, but they went down very well and were very popular. I had several comments on them. So I thought I would just do the biscuits by themselves because they work very well by themselves. Now, as you bake them, they spread. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bake mine in a couple of pans. This is a whoopie pie pan, basically. And I'm going to put my balls of dough in the whoopie pie pan. And as they spread, they should bake in a fairly uniformly round shape. And I'm also going to use a bun tin, which I have here, which is slightly deeper, and I'm going to bake 12 in there as well. And so I'll actually bake 24 altogether. Now, I've greased those pans. If you don't have the pans, it's fine. You can still just take teaspoons full of the dough, roll them into balls and put them on a baking tray with parchment paper with a big gap in between them, and they will bake up very nicely as my gypsy creams did. So the recipe, as I said, is very easy, and I start off by preheating my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, 160 Celsius with a fan, 350 Fahrenheit. And I'll go on to the ingredients. And for these biscuits, I have 225 grams, which is 1.5 cups based on scooping packed flour into a 250 milliliter cup of plain flour. I have 225 grams, 1 cup of softened unsalted butter, 100 grams, half a cup of caster sugar, 75 grams, 3/4 of a cup of porridge oats. You can use any oats you want, basically. Then I have 5 milliliters, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 20 grams, 1 tablespoon of golden syrup. Now you could use honey and you could use maple syrup or corn syrup if you wanted to, but I'm using golden syrup. I have 2 grams, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and 2 grams, half a teaspoon of baking powder, as well as about 3/4 of a gram, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to put my salt straight into the flour just to get that spoon out of the way. And then the final ingredient will be 30 milliliters, 2 tablespoons of boiling water. This water isn't boiling, but I will use boiling water when I need it. So we'll go on and mix all these ingredients together. It's very easy. And the first ingredients to mix are the sugar and the butter, and I'm going to do that with my hand mixer, and I'm just going to cream them together until they're light and fluffy. And I haven't chopped my butter up very small because it's soft enough, it will mix in very easily as it is. So that's nicely mixed together, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour into that my vanilla extract and my golden syrup and my boiling water. I'm just going to mix that around. And that's good enough like that. So I'll set that to one side for a moment, and I'm going to put my baking powder, baking soda into my flour, and I'm going to mix that around. And the salt's already in there, as I mentioned earlier. And then I'm going to put the oats in as well. And I'm going to give those a stir around just to get those mixed into the flour. And then I'm simply going to stir that into the wet mixture until it's fully combined. So I'll tip that into the wet mixture, and I'm going to use a spatula to stir it through. Now you could use the hand mixer again, but I don't think I need it. And that's good like that. So then I need to apportion that into my 24 positions on my 2 trays. And I'm going to weigh them. You can scoop out equal amounts, but I like to weigh mine. And I'm going to weigh them out into portions of 26 grams each. So I have here just a little bit of flour, which I'm going to use to put on my fingers as I work. And you'll find that useful if you're doing free-form ones. So I'm going to take 26 grams of my mixture, which is exactly that amount, and I'm going to put that into a hole on the tray. And do the same with the remainder. And with my 2 trays filled like that, I'm just going to, with floured fingertips, just going to shape those a little bit and pat them down. I don't think I need to do it, but I'm doing it so that it just might help a little bit. And that's good enough like that. So I'm going to put those into the oven, and I'm going to bake them for between 15 and 18 minutes until they've spread and they've risen a little bit and they've got a nice golden brown colour. And at that point I'll take them out of the oven. I'll leave them in the tray just for a couple of minutes, and then I'll gently transfer them to a wire rack to cool. These are going to be very tender, so very delicate and easy to break, but I'll transfer them to a wire rack, and when they've cooled down I'll come back and show you the results. I baked my biscuits Now I actually baked them for 21 minutes. I baked them for 18 minutes and I didn't think, because I put them in these tins and I used more batter than when I made the gypsy creams for each biscuit, I didn't think they were cooked through. So I baked them for 21 minutes. Then I took them out of the oven and left them in the tin for about 5 minutes. Then I used a little offset spatula to carefully lift them out. I did break one in the process, but this is what they look like now. So these are the ones which I baked in the bun tin, and these are the ones which I baked in the whoopie pie tin. So these are slightly wider and slightly shallower, and this one here is what I baked free-form with the remaining dough basically, and that's worked very well. So if you want to do them free-form, put them onto in little balls onto your baking tray, press them down slightly and try to make sure they're quite round, and then bake them off for the same amount of time and they'll be fine. So I'll have a taste of one, and before I respond to tasting, I'll just show you what the inside looks like. It's got a lovely tender texture basically. So I'll have a taste of this. Very, very good. Not overly sweet. There's only 100 grams of sugar between the 24 biscuits, so that's not too bad, but certainly sweet enough. I get the caramel flavour coming through from that little bit of golden syrup, and then the texture is so light and tender with the oats and the flour. For me, these are just perfect biscuits. You couldn't dunk them in tea. If you dunk them in tea, they're just going to dissolve basically. But they're very good with a cup of tea, just eating them on the side. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link below the video as well. And I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.